people think of AI as like an end result or something out front. I think of it like an engine in a car. I think it's about taking the same thing that you're already driving every day and just swapping out the propulsion system with something much better. It's a constant iteration to squeeze out the best results. And it's amazing because small changes can have dramatic impact. Don't start businesses that require funding. Profitable businesses are the only businesses to have. If you think you need money to grow your business, or you do need money to grow your business, I would ask you, what's wrong with your business model?
What one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs watching and listening today?
As an entrepreneur, just realize that it's sort of a continual bunch of failures until someday you kind of fail into success.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Business Growth Show. I'm your host, Athin Cassiotis, and today I have an awesome guest. His name is Shaun Clark, and he's the co-founder of HighLevel, an all-in-one platform which empowers businesses to grow their businesses with comprehensive tools to automate client delivery, sales, and marketing. And Clark's vision is to empower agencies to scale, reduce churn, and increase profitability. And they offer a custom set of products companies can deploy literally within hours to help them add real revenue to their bottom line. Welcome, Shaun, and thank you for being on the Business Growth Show.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, mate. I'm sure it's going to be a great episode for everyone watching and listening today. And you are a successful entrepreneur. So for those people who don't know who you are, introduce yourself by telling us a bit more about you and your journey.
Yeah, sure. So I'm one of the co-founders of HighLevel, which is, I think, the largest sales and marketing platform out there now, according to Built With, which I actually think is also an Australian company. Interesting. Anyhow, so started HighLevel with my original co-founder Varun about 7 years ago now. Always been a serial entrepreneur, always been a software engineer by trade. And just really started off the journey with, had a prior SaaS company with helping a lot of small businesses, about 1,000 of them, primarily on the accounting side, helping them collect basically a revenue that was past due to them, and really having an opportunity while solving that problem, also having an opportunity to talk to a lot of them and understand they all had the same thing in common, which is everybody wanted more customers. And so 7 years ago, Varun and I thought, well, maybe we can write some code to do that. And, it was a very interesting journey because early on, we certainly had a product that people, our customers or potential customers said they liked. But what we ran into very quickly was that the solution may have been fine, the tools may have been good, but the time required for those businesses to continue to operate as well as then adopt that new technology, that was the big issue. And so for us, that's really what led to our third co-founder coming along. Thank goodness. He called us one day and really let us in on this idea that they're sort of like, we call them marketing agencies, but they could also be called, consultants or various other terms, but people kind of in the middle helping these small businesses actually take this technology and bring it all the way into their business in a way that actually creates outcomes for them versus trying to expect the business owner to actually learn all of that themselves. And that really is what led to the aha 7 years ago, and really what has brought us to where we are today, which is, don't ask the small business owner who's busy being an expert at what they do to also then become a marketer on the side. It's just not, doesn't work. They're two full-time jobs. So you just really have to help the people who do have that expertise and are bringing those solutions. That's who you're making the tools for. You're not making them for the small business. So just used on behalf of the small business by those experts.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Amazing story there of how coming together at different times, but then the three of you definitely make an amazing team together. From what I see, you complement each other.
Absolutely. Wouldn't be here without them. That's for sure.
Yeah, amazing. Love that. And I guess so now, just because obviously you've got a huge amount of tools, right? In HighLevel now, but do you want to maybe talk
Massive,
about
yes. Pretty much every tool you can imagine.
Yeah, where it started from maybe, and then like sort of how the breadth of, I guess, where the system is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the initial thing was, as we started to work with the marketers, what their biggest issue was, and actually it's not, their biggest issue was they were generating leads and handing them over on a spreadsheet and saying, hey, look, here's a bunch of, new potential customers. Aren't I amazing? And the business owner would look at them and be like, no, none of these people walked into my thing or gave me any money. You're fired. And it was like, wait, hold, and they would just be shocked, right? And the missing component there was this thing in the middle called lead nurture, which is, yes, you generated the lead marketer, and yes, business owner, you want them to walk in, but they don't just magically do that. you have to actually reach out to them and ask them to come in and get them to schedule an appointment, all this stuff. Well, the problem is the marketers were like, no, 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 that's not my job. And the small business was like, no, no, that's not my job. So what we did is we automated that process in the middle. And it was very magical because all of a sudden we took a lot of agencies being fired constantly by their customers and honestly not delivering what their customers really wanted, which is really, I mean, they really want customers. That's the thing. And a lead is not a customer. A lead is a potential customer, but not a customer. And most businesses, if you get them, if you say, look, I booked someone on your calendar, I don't care what it is that you do, most businesses can take it from there. It's that thing in the middle. So we automated that through text messaging, phone calls, and all kinds of email and reach, all kinds of outreach. And we were able to automate that for most of those agencies. And that's really where we started, and really the first feature that created value for the marketers and created value for the businesses. And then over time, what we realized is, initially, so then the marketers, if you looked at them, they were buying all these tools from all these people. And so we're like, okay, well, let's just build all those tools. We'll be the one-stop shop. We used to call ourselves the agency operating system. And then as we started down that way, ultimately it was like, okay, wait a second. Okay, we were doing that, but wait a second, we looked at the marketers and they were taking a lot of that software and selling it to the small business, and we're like, wait a second, hold on. What if we made this even easier? So first we allowed them to bill and package and sort of do that, and then we started looking on the small business side and saying, well, what are the tools they're buying, and started adding that to the stack. So as you can imagine, if you're replacing every tool the marketer uses and every tool the small business uses, that is a tremendous number of tools. So we've spent the last 7 years just heads down building as fast as we can everything the marketer uses and everything the small business owner uses, so that kind of like Costco is the way we think about it. It's a one-stop shop. You walk in and anything and everything you buy can be kind of found under one roof. And because of that, we're able to offer amazing pricing, amazing scalability, a lot of really cool stuff. So that's kind of how we got to where we are today.
Yeah, amazing. Love that. Solving an initial problem and then, yeah, innovating from there, and then, becoming that one-stop shop, like you said. I think one big thing that I see from the outside from you guys is speed of implementation. Like, you have a decent sized team, right? Compared to what most businesses would have,
Very,
especially.
very decent. Yes.
And I think that's what it is, right? So, and even you, like, you get on, you're like, hey, if there's a big problem for somebody, like, we'll make it happen very quickly. So the turnaround time is fast, and
Yep.
you're releasing a lot of things, right?
Always
Very
been
quick.
that way. Though. To be fair, that we were that way when we were two people. So I would say that's always been a part of our culture and who we are, and since inception. And I think that the fast turn rates are really a big definer of how we got here and why we're still here. Because I think that a lot of problems, people. No one wants a problem, but I think the difference is if you can say, look, I'll solve that problem quickly, or I'll solve that problem next year, like there's a big difference to most people. And I think that if you're very customer focused and you're just sort of lockstep right there in the trenches of your customer, you can iterate very quickly on the problems that matter to them. So, you may not, there's lots of stuff we didn't do for a very long time. There's probably lots of stuff we still don't do. But at the end of the day, if you're sort of marching lockstep with your customer, and your customer on the other side likewise sees like solution to my problem, solution to my problem, solution to my problem, they're like, okay, at least these guys care about me. At least they're solving my problems incrementally. And sure, maybe I could think of things they don't have and might not have for years, but today, here where I'm at, they're here to care about me and solve my problems that I can then use to turn around and create value for my customer, create money, and make a business. So that to us has been just a key way that we've done all of this.
Yeah, amazing. Love that. Amazing culture that you guys have got there. So, just so everyone's aware, right? There's a lot of tools from, like funnel building, automations. You can use email, SMS, like Shaun said. So even electronic document signing. There's so many tools.
You name it, invoicing and billing, and yeah, two-way texting and WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. I mean, if you want to sit here, you can sit there and rattle off features for an hour. But the idea is really just about how do we make sure that if you're an agency or a small business, you walk in and everything you need to run your business day to day, more or less, is sitting right there in the same spot.
Yeah. And how because you guys obviously you have a white label model, right? So, if everyone
Very
doesn't
much so.
yeah, for everyone that doesn't just understand what that means, it's obviously you can put your own domain branding right on there to
Yep, yep.
resell.
You can come in, brand the whole thing end to end. It takes 5 minutes to have your own version. And now you're out there and you're not selling high level, you're selling your own version and you mark it up. You decide how much you're gonna charge. And the cool part about our pricing is whether you have, 10 customers or 1,000 customers, you don't pay us any more money. So it's a very scalable enterprise for you. And there's a huge profit margin in it for the people that white label it.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I think it's a really very smart move from my eyes because it's like, well, instead of sort of selling individually to people, it's like you're selling one to many in a way, right? Because you go to
Oh
an
yeah,
agency, a
100%. Well,
consultant.
what's funny about that is, we didn't start off with that intention. Like that, I think is the big aha at the end. But the way that happened is, agencies would come to us and say, well, I got XYZ product in place for my customer, and I spent, 6 weeks getting it to be perfect, and then my customer fired me because they said that the software did all the work. And so we were like, well, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, yeah. So we're like, well, how can we solve for that? And that was the idea, again, of being lockstep in the trenches. It was the white label would allow that person, the end customer, to not be able to make that mistake of disambiguating, right? And then that's actually what evolved into the white label as a business model, because it turned out once we solved that issue, agencies started making a lot more money selling the software than they were selling the services, and the software scales much better. So that was sort of like a second order effect. But the first order was, how do we keep people from getting fired and believe, because they have this false belief that software is magical and is doing all the work, when in reality it was the agency doing all the work.
Yeah, that's right. It's a combination of strategy and execution, right? A lot of people don't
Yeah,
understand
100%.
in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
I'm
hammer doesn't build a house by itself.
definitely. It was funny. I do business coaching mentoring, right? I had a client with me going, "Oh, I want to set up Google Ads. How do I do Google Ads?" And I said, "Well, you got to understand the strategy first of what we're actually
Yeah,
trying to
right.
do,
I mean,
right?
setting
Like,
them up is easy. Go to Google Ad, go to the Google Ads Manager. In fact, we even have Ads Manager now. Like we have ads in our thing. You can go in a couple of clicks, and we make it super simple to launch Google Ads. But what do they say, and where do they go, and how do they land, and what are they? It's like there's all the things. And if you don't know any of that, well, you can go run them. That's like burning money. You can go burn money.
yeah, exactly. And once we did the whole strategy together, it's like, oh, now I understand what you're talking about
Yeah.
there. And then you can, really create. And then it's all like you would know as well. It's all about testing, right? It's not like, oh, you just run one ad and
Yeah.
it just works, as well.
Yeah,
So
100%. You're A/B testing all the time, and if you're not, and then and it's a funnel. You're optimizing the ad, which is at the top, and then once you've really nailed that, well, great. But let's talk about the next step. Like, where am I landing? Am I landing on the website? And I hope not, because there's 60,000 different menus there, and we're confusing people, and so we need to create a funnel, and then boom, 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 and it's a constant iteration to squeeze out the best results. And it's amazing because small changes can have dramatic impacts, and I think that's where something like marketing becomes a real profession, where you're really, utilizing that expertise to drive that outcome versus just thinking that you just like, oh yeah, click, 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 ads are running, magic happens, customers just come flowing in the door. It just doesn't work like that.
yeah, definitely. And I think a big thing is the not necessarily needing APIs, right? So, obviously you do connect to other platforms where needed. But instead
Yep.
of using something like Zapier or whatever to connect all these
Oh
platforms
yeah.
together, which could break,
Oh
you've got
yeah.
all in the one
That's the
system.
idea. Yep, yep, yep. Everyone can sort of say, oh, because that was actually, to be fair, that was the original vision of the web, which was, everyone would sort of go off in their own little silo and make like the best version of whatever, and then Zapier would come in and beautifully strung all together. But that's actually not how it works in practice. And I didn't see that coming any more than anybody else did. But it just turned out that, data orchestration, I think is the fancy word for it. But the idea that having the data flow seamlessly through one system, the trackability is amazing, because if you know what ad it came from, what page it went to, how long they were there, what they did afterwards, what the sales cycle looked like on the back end, and then what the revenue was from the transaction. Well, all of a sudden, if you have all that data, you can see how much revenue an ad is generating. Well, gosh, that's kind of important, because if you look at traditional ad metrics, it's like the conversion rate. I hate this. Like the conversion rate, it's such a lie, because conversion rates for real businesses is like, how much money did this make me? But no, no, no. That's always like, how many leads did you get? Like, who cares? I can show you tons of ads that generate tons of leads that make no money. And I can show you ones that generate very few leads that make a truckload of money, and everything in between. So fundamentally, you have to make sure you can optimize to the dollars that you're bringing in. and not to the actual like number of leads you're getting. Like I've actually had personal experience with this. I ran a business that was almost all AdWords driven. It was super simple. The big keyword, tons of leads. But the deeper we went and the more specific we went, we had keywords that, yeah, they generated like a tenth the volume, except the individual customer was, a lawyer or a doctor or somebody with a lot of money. We get 10x the revenue from those folks. And so it's better running around, trying to run around and string together a bunch of those long tail keywords than doing the big keyword, which also, by the way, was always the most expensive. So, there's a lot of strategy that goes into that, and you need to be able to see that data all the way in one contiguous system. And unfortunately, the APIs of the world just don't do that justice.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk a bit about AI now. Of course, the big thing that's on
Sure,
everybody's
yeah.
lips. It's going big, and you guys have obviously integrated AI. So, do you want to tell us a bit more about what's involved with that? Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah. So here's the fun part. We as a company are very proud to say that we are not innovators. Our goal is not to be out front. Our goal is to follow behind our customer. So with AI, everything we're doing is really, we started with content because our customers were really doing a lot of content, and then I think that kind of plateaued at some point. Although I think it's coming back a little bit. Our AI funnel builder is pretty killer. But if you look at the real place where businesses, so I think the thing with AI is people think of AI as like an end result or something out front. I think of it like an engine in a car. I think it's about taking the same thing that you're already driving every day and just swapping out the propulsion system with something much better, right? Kind of like if you've ever driven an electric car or a gas car, as a driver, it's more or less the same deal, right? You push the pedal, it goes, you turn the wheel, it turns, right? Fundamentally, though, it's the thing under the hood that changes the sort of overall part of what's happening with the car. So AI is very similar to that. So big places we're seeing impacts today, inbound phone calls. So we have inbound voice AI answering calls. And what does that mean? Well, when you call a business, if they don't pick up, you don't buy. So if you have AI there 24/7, 365 answering, wow, you're making a lot more money. You go to a website and yeah, they got a cool fancy website and cool menus and you can read about their history for the last 30 years. Who cares? At some point you want to buy. And so we have conversational AI chat. So now we're doing real-time chat with AI, and the AI is most importantly out of all of this, both on the call side and the chat side, we're moving you to an outcome. We're getting you to a booked appointment. We're getting you to that next step in the funnel. That's what matters. And that's what a human being would do. Because at the end of the day, yeah, website's cool. You look good. You look legit. I read your reviews. All right, let's transact. Like, let's go. And if in that moment you can't meet me where I stand, you've spent a lot of money educating me to go to your competitor, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. I thought I had the demand. You spurred the demand to me. You showed me that this is something I really want to do and execute, but you're no longer available to get me in. Well, guess what? I haven't lost my interest. I'm just going to go move on to your competitor. So AI for us is really making sure that businesses are being able to answer all those inbounds. And then in a minute, we're going to do some cool stuff with uh, I'm sort of like a cross between chat and voice AI. So it's sort of like you're on the screen, you're in a chat modality, but now you're using voice to communicate on the web. That is coming up soon. That's going to be very cool. And then sort of futurescaping this, I think it's all about agentic AI. And really, if you don't know what that is, think about it like almost like hiring a virtual employee that can do stuff. Now, here's the fun part for us. Ultimately, we believe, as we did initially, agencies will lead the way. These are sufficiently complex things that will need constant updates, constant attention, constant learning, and agencies are going to be the ones to do this. The plumber, the lawyer, the doctor, the dentist, they're going to be the people who want the outcomes of these agents, but they are not going to be the ones to create these agents, maintain these agents, train these agents. They won't know anything about it because fundamentally they still want the outcomes. They want, oh, you can get somebody to be my front desk receptionist? Great. I want an agent for that. But fundamentally, I am not going to know how to do that, and I don't have time to learn that. But I also don't think you're going to be able to take something off the shelf and plug it in. Just like a real employee, you're going to have to train it. You're going to have to watch the responses. You're going to have to constantly tune it. You're going to have to make it better. This is where we're going. So we'll have a full agentic builder coming out here before level up day or around about level up day in October.
Yeah, amazing. Sounds like it's really powerful. And talk about it from the other side, because I think what most obviously business owners want is that side, right? It's like, how can we implement AI into your business, have those agents, have that automation things happening, right? The calls, the messages, all of that.
Mhm.
From my understanding as well, you also have it from the other side, from the platform side, in terms of taking actions, right?
Oh
Within
yeah.
the platform. Do you want to talk
Yes,
about
yes,
that
yes. So
vision as well?
AI,
Yeah.
yeah, AI. So kind of like you can use ChatGPT to do stuff. You can now use AI in the platform to create things because a lot of times whether it could be something like creating a whole funnel, but it also could be something where you're doing a workflow and maybe you know what it is you want to do and you can explain it, but you don't know how to do it. And so that's the great bridge here. We have this thing called Ask AI, and you can actually talk to it or chat to it or whatever, and it'll actually take actions for you. So you can say, yeah, you know what? I want to create an email that says this and goes out to these types of people. And I want to send it out tomorrow at 6 o'clock. It'll roll that all together for you, show it to you. You can double check it and then say, yep, that looks good and execute. And now you've created an email, you've scheduled a bulk send, and you've done it at a future date. So now you have all of that beautifully interwoven, all using AI. So we have that today, and you'll continue to see more and more and more as we kind of go out into the future, because there is this sort of future state, right, where we're getting used to talking or sort of communicating with ChatGPT or some AI to try to ask it information. But what's so key and missing and critical in most of those conversations is specificity around our business. Because if and the CRM becomes the system of record for that, because you don't just want to say, well, oh, what's the capital of whatever? You want to say, hey, if you look at the sales we had last year and the number of leads we had, tell me what was the best ad source last year and what do you think it's going to be this year? That requires a lot of specific data, and a lot of our AI efforts are going into that. And again, that's useful from the agency perspective as well as the small business perspective as they're trying to learn and use and take action based on the information that their business could tell them if only they could unearth it. And AI is a perfect way to do that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be like game changing for both sides, right? Making it efficient,
Totally.
as well as just being able to implement a lot more new things in there, which is amazing. So, um, let's talk events quickly now, right? So you guys were
Sure.
recently in Sydney, and that was an amazing event that I attended. You guys definitely know how to put on a show, and I know that you're going a bit of a road trip, let's call it, around the world. You've also got your big
Yep.
yearly event in Dallas that you do
Yep.
as
That's
well.
right.
So, tell us a bit more around, I guess, the event strategy, or especially more around the big event in Dallas. Like, why do you create that yearly, flagship event?
Yeah, sure, 100%. Well, so, my co-founder, Robin, is a Dallas native. And back in the day, he had a real office. So it was either my home address, my Varun's home address in Qatar, or his office. So his office looked more legit. So he wins. So that's our official HQ. And so that's where we're going to bring everybody together. It also helps that Dallas is a big city. You can get direct flights from pretty much anywhere to Dallas. And so, that's kind of our home base. So we put on this big event every year, and we're going to talk about everything that we are launching, all the new features. We launch a ton of features on site, which is a lot of fun. We bring the best of the best, and I'm talking the absolute top of marketing to that spot. I always like to say, even if you don't even know who we are, heck, even if you hate us, we will have enough people there that you'll still want to come just to listen to those speakers. And the way we craft that event is quite a bit different than other events that I've been to. A lot of so while we call it our big event, it is actually not a big event, and it's done by design, because we don't want the traditional thing. The speaker comes in, they get up on stage, they do their spiel, and man, they just head for that door so fast. All of our speakers stick around. They head to the after parties, they go to the bar, they go to the restaurants, whatever. You want to meet your heroes, you can do so at our event. And that's what makes it special. And then, from a world tour perspective, we are now more an international company than ever, and this next year is going to be bigger than ever. So we went out just to meet the people who have supported us for so long in so many places, but we've also learned a lot. We're going to be opening a lot of international offices next year, in all kinds of places, including Australia. We're going to be doing a lot more international events as well, because as fun as it is to make everybody fly to Dallas, Texas, I know what it's like to fly 16 hours to do an event. So, it can be fun. It can also be exhausting. So we want to make sure that there's options if you're local. If you want to come to the US, there are options there as well. So really just trying to continue to push that model out And again, we're just seeing so much success with people who are adopting the SaaSpreneur model that we've created. It's really important to us that we get those events out there because it doesn't matter what country you're from. It is amazing. You can do the same thing in any country as you can in the US when it comes to serving businesses the way we're doing it, putting out the solutions we're doing. All of this cross applies. And now that we have internationalization on lock, be it languages, taxes, all of that stuff, that's been in payments. That's been a big part of our work this year. So we're really ready to kind of like take that next leap so we can say, hey, no matter where you live, we've got your language, we've got your payments, and we've got your taxes. So you can sell locally and be very successful.
Yeah, amazing. And I'll just give you some like kudos there, right, with the event because I've been to so many different events, and I think it was one of the best events that I've been to in terms of the organization. Like, the additional things that you gave, the culture, like your guys' culture, the openness was there. You had support people sitting there, right, on the side. So it's like, hey, you need
Yeah.
some help or whatever, go in the breaks.
And that was and not only just support, but those are dev team members, which is kind of cool, right? So you actually get to meet engineers.
Yeah, exactly. So you had sort of different people there depending on what the issue was, or you want to talk about an innovation or anything like that. It was yeah, so well organized. So it's like
Thanks. Yeah, we run all of our own events with our own people, and we find that it just makes such a difference. We have an events team internally, but but that team is always small but mighty, and then we just bring in people from all parts of the organization. Because like you said, because what you don't want, right, is even the person at the door is one of our people, and so what you don't want is like to walk up to someone and say, hey, I have this question. And they're like, I don't know, I don't work here. I'm just like some hired help person, right? And we don't like that. That's a terrible experience as an attendee. So we run all of our own events. So while it adds a little bit of probably difficulty on our end, I think from a customer viewpoint, like you're saying, it's great because if they don't know the exact answer, they have an idea of what you're asking and they can find the right person for you. So we can really kind of get people what they need while they're on site.
Yeah. And I think a big thing is for you guys as well because you're so approachable, right? In talking to everybody when you have those little networking areas and things like that, right? Or just in between things going on at the event. I think you did that really well, and you can tell that you've got a very sort of collaborative mindset of there. I think the people that are in the room, I think that that are there that are attracted to that, I think are really powerful. I think that's the big part that I would say as well. You've really built something, yeah, really cool. So it
That's
was good.
cool. Well, I mean, we're fortunate. We have amazing customers too. I mean, we have customers who are willing to share not just with us, but with each other. And I think that collaborative environment, that sort of attitude, it just makes the world such a better place because it's a big world, right? So, I think, having that glass half full mindset is super critical, but also I think really quite realistic and truthful. And so it's amazing how many people, either, help someone on their journey because they got helped by somebody else, or they learn something that helps them sort of achieve things. It's great, and we're just super fortunate because we have a lot of customers who come together to back us up because we don't know everything ourselves, and we learn as much from our customers, I think, as they learn from us. So it's a cool environment that way for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about investment now, right? Because I think
Sure.
a lot of businesses, especially on the tech side, get investment right into their businesses to be able to scale faster. And I believe you guys have got an investment, into HighLevel as
Two.
well. So do you want to tell us a bit more around, I guess, what's involved to make this happen, right? Because you've got obviously a lot of development, a lot of things like that. So there's a bit of an awareness of people, wanting to go down that path.
Well, okay, so we're a little different in this regard, and I think this is super important. So we never took a dime until we were profitable, and not just profitable for a minute. We were profitable for a very long time. We were profitable almost from inception. We bootstrapped the whole business ourselves for many, many, many years, and we didn't take any money because we needed it for growth. And this is I think, a remarkably different situation than most. We took money, we've taken it twice, and both times so a couple of things. Because we're profitable, we're in the driver's seat. So we took two minority round investments, which means the people who invested in us don't control us. We still control the company. They give us advice. They give us all kinds of things that are amazing, actually. And we didn't work with them. We worked with them not just for the money, but also for their expertise and helping us kind of continue to level up. But they can't tell us what to do, and that's the most important thing. So why would we take money if we didn't need it? Super simple. When you take on employees who give honestly say no to a lot of well-paying opportunities that they could otherwise go towards, it's your responsibility at some point to pay those people back. And so we took money twice, really just to pay those employees and give them an opportunity to go and say, hey, yeah, I know I for the last 5 years I've made peanuts compared to what I could otherwise make, but guess what? We can now finally buy that house or go on that vacation or whatever it is that I always said we could. It really helps. It helps them go to their family and say, look, I told you I'm not crazy. These people are real. So that is why we did that. It's totally different than most people do it. If I was going to start over today, I would do it exactly the same way we did it. My strong advice to people is don't start businesses that require funding. Profitable businesses are the only businesses to have. If you think you need money to grow your business, or you do need money to grow your business, I would ask you what's wrong with your business model. This idea of growing businesses off funding has been in vogue now for a very long time. But I will honestly say, at least in software, I think a lot of the bad endings came out of that. Terrible businesses that shouldn't have existed for far too long. And then B, over time, some businesses that were probably really good ultimately fundamentally crashed because they went because when you build a model based on like free money and everyone's giving you money and all of a sudden someday that changes, oh crap, now what, right? Like you gotta cut those costs back and this and that, and all of a sudden the business model you had before doesn't work. So we did not build that business. We don't have that business. So I don't know anything about funding businesses to grow them. We created a business that was profitable from inception and continues to be profitable. So I would just say, please build those businesses. Don't build ones that require funding, because the funding world there is radically different. I mean, if you are in a world where you need funding, you are not in the driver's seat. You're in the trunk. Like you are being taken for a ride. Like you're going to be told what to do. You're going to be told, they're going to say jump. You're going to have to say how high. They can fire you at a moment's notice. Like you are not in control of your business. You are just selling your business off to somebody else. And the problem is, if you're doing it because you have to keep the lights on, you're going to do it. You're going to sell too much of it. You're going to sell it too soon. It's going to be a terrible outcome from you. I have personally met some big name tech founders who, at one point, I would have regarded as, like, wow, I'll never even meet these people. They're so amazing, like celebrities who created big companies who ended up selling for peanuts because they simply created a situation where they required funding to run theirs and grow their businesses. They sold off way too much of it, and at the end, they had no control. They might have been CEO, but really they were just an employee, and they got thrown out for almost nothing. It was pretty sad. So ultimately, do not build those businesses. Just build businesses that don't require money. So then, if you ever do go to raise money, you will be raising it for the right reasons, and you will have far more control of that raise. So that's my monologue on raising money.
Yeah, I love that. That's so powerful. Everybody there going against what a lot of these tech companies would do to stay alive. Keep the leverage in your hands, as Shaun was saying, right? And it's all about profitability in a business. So I love that. So amazing points there. And I guess you shared so much gold with us here today, Shaun. I guess as we're starting to wrap up, what one key piece of advice would you like to give to all the entrepreneurs here watching and listening today?
I would just say, no matter what, if there's a lot of failure that doesn't get talked about. I failed at many things on the way, that we didn't get into. I failed way more than I've been successful. But I think the fundamental thing is I just kept kind of continuing along in one way or another. And I will say, when I had a previous SaaS company and I sold it and I ended up being an employee for a year, which I did not like at all, but I did it, because I knew that it would give me the opportunity to kind of do the next thing. So just keep moving and keep changing and keep pivoting. And sometimes, if you fail a lot, that's okay. I don't think you've ever truly failed unless you gave up. And so, don't think that like you need the perfect idea or that you need it to be a home run. In fact, I would argue that this is actually why we do what we do in terms of getting features out. As an example, we call it the skateboard model. Because fundamentally, the sooner you get it out of your brain and you get it out in the world, you'll see why the perfect picture in your head doesn't actually match with what's really going to happen. But that's okay. It means you can see, like, okay, is this going to work at all? And if not, that's cool. Like, how could I adjust? How could I change? What am I learning from this experience? So I would just say, as an entrepreneur, just realize that it's sort of a continual bunch of failures until someday you kind of fail into success. So that at least that's been my experience. So for those of you who are out there struggling, don't worry. I have had far more struggles than I've had successes, and so that's my advice. Keep going.
Yeah, Love it. So true. And yeah, we connected, through our networks and went about your awesome journey from all that, computer science background with the tech side of things. And then obviously being the co-founder of HighLevel, what you're changing with the all-in-one business platform. And I think you guys are changing the game. It's been
Thanks.
awesome to be part of the journey, to see what you're doing there as well. And very grateful that we connected and look forward to partnering and growing alongside you. So Shaun, how can people
100%.
find you and the business and get in touch? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, at the end of the day, I would say just if you want to know over high level, go to YouTube and search HighLevel. There's a lot of video content there. You can see stuff that we released on the software side. You should also see a lot of amazing marketers talking about how they use it, which is, I think, more useful maybe than the actual software itself. So that's cool. If you want to see, you can find me like LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever. I don't care, whatever works for you. But definitely check out the YouTube channel. Just search HighLevel. You can't miss it.
Definitely. Well, definitely check out their YouTube channel. Shaun's on the socials, and especially the website as well, gohighlevel.com. There
Oh
is
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. That's our website. That's where you go sign up. But it's a one pager. You can't help it. So if you want to know more, definitely the YouTube channel.
YouTube. Yeah, definitely. That's a biggest search engine as it's happening now. So get on to YouTube. Well, it's been a pleasure interviewing you, mate, and thanks for being on the Business Growth Show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching and listening to the Business Growth Show, where we talk about everything on business growth. And please like, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube as Athin Cassiotis, or visit my website, athincassiotis.com. And if you want to grow and scale your business, you can reach out to me on any platform to see if we're a good fit. So until next time, remember that our business grows where we learn skills and take action using them in spite of fear. So let's create wealth and freedom together.